I'm Mr. T. This is the film freestyle lesson. In this lesson, we'll be setting up our preferences in Premiere. There's a few things we need to set up in our preferences before we actually get to doing some video editing. To set up your preferences, go up to Premiere and head down to the box that says Preferences. You'll see there's a whole lot of different preferences. We're going to start with the one that says General. Now, most of these preferences have already been set to defaults, and these defaults are going to be good for most of the work that you're doing. But there are some options for customization and a few things here and there that we do need to change.
I'm going to leave the default alone. The next set of preferences I have here is the appearance. Here I can change kind of the look and feel of the software itself. If I want to make it lighter or darker, I can do that. If I want to make the little blue highlights brighter or darker, I can do that as well. This is the audio hardware section. Everything should work fine on the default here at Freestyle. If you're working on a computer at home and you are not hearing your sound, for example, this would be a section to check and make sure that you have the correct sound setting on so that you can hear what's going on as you edit the video. Here is the Autosave.
Now remember, Adobe Autosave is really auto backup. It's going to save several different versions of your file in a different folder that you can find later if you need it.
And we can choose how often we want it to save backups. So here the default is every 15 minutes. That's pretty good. I like that. I'm going to leave that alone. But if you want it to save more or less often, you can change the default from 15 minutes to something else. And here's the maximum number of project versions.
Here you can specify how many versions you want Premiere to autosave. If you have 20 versions, what this means is Adobe will autosave or auto backup the 20 most recent versions of your project file. This doesn't mean it's going to stop saving after 20 versions. Once it hits version 20, Adobe's going to cycle back and save over version 1, and then over version 2, and so on and so forth. So if you need to find the most recent backup version of your project file, it's not necessarily going to be version 20. You need to look at the timestamps so that you can figure out if it's version 20 or version 1 or something in between.
So 20 versions, that's fine for me. If I have my own personal Adobe Cloud membership, I can save a backup project to the Creative Cloud. That can be handy. All right, I'm going to come down here to labels.
Here you can customize a whole bunch of the different colors of the different types of media that you bring into Premiere. It doesn't really matter what colors you choose, but it's an option for you to customize things to your liking. You can choose violet or purple or blue or mango. Go crazy, folks.
If you want to customize your interface, customize your colors a little bit, you can do that. All right, here, media.
Now, most of the defaults in these preferences are going to be what you want, but there's a few settings here and there that you might want to change. For example, this one here that says frame count might be useful to change if you're an animation student or if you're experimenting with stop motion or time-lapse photography. Do you want your frame count to begin at 0, at 1, or at something else entirely?
I'm going to go over here to media cache. Now these settings are kind of important. This can also impact our performance, so we want to make sure that we have this set up properly.
Media cache is where Premiere saves a lot of the cached video and audio that it's working with. Again, anything that you can do to divide up the workload onto several different hard drives or machines can help increase speed and performance.
I want to put it onto the hard drive. Again, many hands make light work. So I'm going to go to the hard drive here, and I'm going to choose that temp folder, and I'm going to say yes. So there is my location for my media cache, and I'm going to put my databases there as well. So I'm going to go ahead, and it doesn't really matter. I can say move or delete, doesn't matter. So now I've got my media cache and my media cache databases saved here in this temporary folder, which is where I want them because this stuff is temporary. Here is my memory settings.
A computer's memory, or RAM, is what stores all the data that's being currently processed on the computer. Video editing takes a lot of memory. You need to make sure that you're allocating enough of that RAM to do the tasks that you're working on in your video editor.
I can choose how much RAM I want to reserve for Premiere and Adobe, as well as for other applications on my computer. Right now I have 13 gigabytes reserved for Premiere and other Adobe applications, and that's pretty good.
If you're editing on your own computer or a computer at home, you need to make sure that that machine has at least 8 gigabytes of memory. But 16 would be better.
Here is the timeline settings. Now here there are some default settings for how long things are.
Here's another setting that you may or may not want to change. Default still image duration. That means whenever you bring in an image into Premiere, it'll default to that length in your timeline, whether it's 5 seconds, 150 frames, or just 1. This could be useful, again, if you're an animation student or if you're experimenting with stop motion or time-lapse photography.
These are trim settings, not something that I'm going to worry about. I'm going to leave everything on the default, and I'm going to say OK.
And now your preferences are all set up and you're ready to go. Come on. Project file. I'm going to end up cutting this together. I just know it. Hits I'm falling over. That's good. That's good enough. Okay. I got it. This is the one. That was so good. Hit Adobe. I said that right. Why am I stopping? I feel like there's one in there. You're ready to go. Okay. Yeah, I guess.